Okay, let's talk about something that is totally changing the game in education. I'm talking about these crazy powerful new AI tools like ChatGPT. They're an incredible leap forward, for sure, but they also bring this massive challenge to, academic integrity. And to show you just how big this challenge is, I've got to ask you a question.
What if I told you there's a tool out there, available to anyone, that can write a perfect college essay, debug some seriously complex code, and oh, by the way, also pass one of the toughest professional exams on the planet? I mean, that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right?
Well, it's not sci-fi anymore. It's very, very real. ChatGPT has passed the big exams for some of our most difficult fields. We're talking the bar exam for lawyers, the U.S. medical licensing exam for doctors, even MBA and law school finals. This is not just some simple chatbot. It's a technology that is sophisticated enough to master the exact knowledge we test for in our highest professions. It's wild.
So to really get a handle on the problem here, we first have to understand how these tools are able to write so convincingly, so human. Because it's probably not what you're thinking.
At their core, these AI tools are basically giant language models. They've been trained on a truly mind-boggling amount of information. We're talking a huge slice of the entire internet. Websites, books, research papers, you name it. It uses all of that data to learn patterns and context and style, which lets it generate totally new text from scratch, just based on a simple prompt from a user. And this is where we get to a really important distinction. See, we usually think of cheating as plagiarism, right? Copying something word for word from a source. But that is not what this AI is doing. It's not copying from resources, it's learning with them. It's pulling ideas from countless sources to form brand new thoughts, which, when you think about it, is surprisingly similar to how a human student actually learns.
And that's exactly why the result feels so different. The AI isn't just doing a fancy search and replace, it's actually synthesizing information. It's making new connections between millions of data points to create something that feels completely original. That's the real secret sauce behind its human-like quality.
Okay, so if the AI is creating truly original text, can our old-school plagiarism checkers even catch it? We really wanted to find out. So we set up a little experiment to see just how easy it is to create text that flies completely under the radar.
The test was pretty simple. We came up with 3 different prompts to feed to ChatGPT, and each one got a little more specific and detailed. Then we took what it spit out and ran the text through 10 different plagiarism and AI detection tools just to see what would happen.
So for our first prompt, we started super basic, really generic. Just define macroeconomics. This is the kind of broad question where you would expect to get a pretty standard, almost textbook-like definition.
And yep, the checkers nailed this one. No problem at all. They flagged the text with a super high probability of being AI generated, which makes sense, right? A generic prompt gets a generic response, and the tools can spot that a mile away. So far, so good.
All right, for round 2, we added a little creative twist. We asked about macroeconomics again, but this time we told it to keep it to a short paragraph and to use an analogy. This one simple change forces the AI to get a bit more creative than just spitting out a definition.
And whoa, look at that difference. The detection score absolutely plummeted. Just by adding one little layer of creativity, the AI's response got way harder to detect. The tools now thought it was mostly written by a human.
So for the final test, we really pulled out all the stops. We gave it a tight word count, asked for that analogy again, but here's the kicker. We also gave it a list of common words it was not allowed to use. This forces a much higher level of originality.
And the result is just stunning. The detection score dropped to almost nothing. The tools were now 95% sure this text was written by a human, and this right here gets to the heart of the problem. With just a couple of clever instructions, a student can create high-quality, original text that is basically invisible to our current anti-cheating software. So that leads us to a pretty terrifying question for every educator out there. If our old tools are useless, and this AI is only getting smarter, what on earth is the solution? How do we protect academic integrity now?
Well, the first part of the answer isn't about fighting fire with fire or technology with more technology. It's actually about rethinking our assignments.
It's about getting more creative with how we actually test for learning.
Here's a perfect example of what that could look like. Instead of some generic essay, an AI-proof exam would ask a student to work with specific materials from the course, like these 2 case studies. It makes them define things, argue a point, and recommend a real solution. An AI just can't do this well because it doesn't have the specific context of that class, and it can't do the personal, critical thinking you need to form a real argument.
Now, smarter assignments are a huge step, but they're only one side of the coin. The other half of a real solution is using smarter technology to create a secure space where students can actually prove what they know honestly.
And this is where high-tech proctoring comes into play. This kind of software basically creates a secure digital bubble around an exam. It can lock down the web browser so you can't go to AI sites, it can disable keyboard shortcuts like copy and paste, and it can even use the webcam and mic to see if a student is trying to use their phone or get help from someone else in the room. The whole point is to create a controlled, fair environment.
So there's no single magic wand we can wave here. The real path forward seems to be this two-pronged approach. On one side, you have educators designing these smarter, more creative assignments that AI just can't beat. And on the other side, you have those assignments being delivered in a secure environment that's protected by technology that levels the playing field for every single student.
All of this brings us to one final, much bigger question. This technology isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's only going to get more powerful and more woven into our daily lives. And as that happens, we really have to ask ourselves, what does the future of learning, of testing, and ultimately of trust in education even look like? That's a challenge we're all going to have to figure out together.